Yeah, so she was in an inpatient treatment somewhere. I can't remember which facility she was in, and she had called because the bracelet was irritating her. So I went out to the treatment facility and swapped at ankles and did a fit adjustment for her.
Okay, so and the only place that you generally remove that is when they're like in jail.
Sometimes, if they're gonna only be in jail for a couple days, we just leave it on. The jail lets them wear it. So if they're only going in for like a dip, we'll just leave it on during that time. The only time I'll take it off is with a judge's order, because the judge orders it on, a judge has to order it off.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Moore. I don't think I have any further questions, but Mr. Patterson may have some follow-up, okay?
Mr. Patterson, cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Moore, I wanted to see if I could get, first of all, a little bit more information on this tamper with alcohol versus just an alcohol. What's the difference in that?
So if there's just an alcohol, that means that the temperature stays steady right where the normal for the client. So when they're first placed on, we take what's called baseline readings. So it can tell where the IR voltage is supposed to be. And you expect that to be even keeled, because once it's on the client, it shouldn't vary. There shouldn't be anything moving that bracelet. And so just in an alcohol event, there's no tamper. The temperature is the same. The IR voltage is steady, and there's alcohol detected. If there's a tamper with alcohol, then you're seeing that IR voltage kind of bounce around. The temperature's changed in one direction or the other. So it recognizes it as a tamper, but it's still getting alcohol readings during that time as well.
Okay. Now, you stated that the monitor was removed on December 27th because of a health issue that had developed. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was having, I think, sores on her leg from the unit.
Okay. And I'm looking at a report that indicates a substantial number of these incidents happened in December of 2022. Is that correct?
8. I've got 8 in December of 2022.
December of 2022.
Yeah, I've got 8, one of them being just alcohol, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 being tampers with alcohol, and then 1 just being a tamper.
Okay. And the tampers, could that have had anything to do with her health issue she was having that was leading up to the time to take it off?
In a conversation with her, and she was placing, I believe, a cloth between the bracelet and her ankle when she would drink, is what she had said.
And you stated that you then report these to the probation office. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you also have a conversation with Miss Barnett anytime these occur?
We had talked to her a few times. Sometimes it wasn't the easiest getting a hold of her. We would call and she wouldn't answer, so we would text her and have her call us back. We had talked to her, but if Christine had already talked to her, then I didn't talk to her as well.
So do you talk to the clients and try and verify from them whether these are actual alcohol events or if something else was going on?
So the company will ask, if the company wants to know what the client's doing during that time, then I tell them. Then I'll ask the client, hey, what were you doing during this time, and report back to the company. On these specific ones, they confirmed it just due to the data that had been collected off of the bracelet. They didn't need to know what she was doing at that time.
So she never was asked to confirm any of these?
I I know I'd had conversations with her about them. I never asked her if they were true or not, I don't think.
Okay. No other questions?
Ms. Moore, you said you don't know if you ever asked her if they were true or not, but yet earlier you testified that she told you when she was drinking, she would leave a cloth between her ankle and her bracelet. How do you
Right.
justify both those answers combined?
So I talked to her about the tamper, but I did not talk to her about the alcohol events he was asking about.
I see. Thank you. Ms. Norris, any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Just
All right.
based upon the court's question, I guess I have one additional. The tamper, it sounds like, was a towel between the monitor and her ankle. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's what she'd stated, that she was putting that in between because there's the strap and then there's the unit part, and the unit part is what you can't put anything between. You can put stuff around the strap, but just not the unit itself.
And was that in December that you were calling her and asking about that?
I would have to look at her reports. There was quite a few.
Let me ask it a different way. Maybe this will help. Was she saying that she was using that towel between herself and the monitor because of the health issues she had going on?
No, not at that time. She had started to wrap the strap due to her sores. And I told her that was fine as long as it didn't get into the unit itself.
Yeah, no other questions.
But again, she said she was doing it to when she was drinking.
Right, because I had questions as far as the alcohol readings that were coming in on the tampers.
Okay. All right. Anything from anyone else on this witness?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any further evidence for the state? Ms. Norris?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Any evidence for the defense, Mr. Patterson?
Your Honor, I would first call the therapist at Miracle's house, which I did not get her name, so I'd ask that she identify herself first.
Okay.
My name is Megan Pinkley and I'm an LAC here.
How do you spell those names, please?
Megan Pinkley, Pinkley.
And what was your title again?
I'm an LAC,
Which means,
licensed addictions counselor.
okay. And you're with which organization?
Miracles.
Miracles. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
Judge, if I could ask that she be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
And is there some way we can keep both you and the defendant on the screen? There we go.
Can you see this?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay.
And again, Ms. Pinkley, could you state your name for the record?
Megan Pinkley.
And you stated that you are a licensed alcohol counselor at Miracles, is that correct?
Licensed addictions counselor at Miracles.
Very good, thank you. And then also I wanted to find out, how long have you been at Miracles?
I started July 4th, 2022.
And prior to that, what did you do?
I was a behavioral health tech at a local hospital.
Okay. Now, as a part of your work and tell me, first of all, what is Miracles?
It's a residential treatment facility for women dealing with substance abuse.
And as a part of your work at Miracles, are you familiar with Megan Barnett?
I am.
And can you tell us when she would have entered into Miracles?
She checked in on March 13th, 2023.
And was that following any other type of treatment?
I do not believe so.
And when she first arrived, was there an intake done?
So she arrived 5 days prior initially, but due to being under the influence, she went to detox for 5 days and then came straight here. And then the intake was complete.
Okay. And through the intake, what did you determine any course of treatment would be?
She would continue with level 3.3, which is inpatient treatment for a period of 28 days. And then afterwards, we would look at outpatient treatment as a follow-up recommendation.
When would the 28 days be finished?
Monday, April 10th.
And up to this time on March 27, could you give us a summary of her treatment and how she's done?
Sure. So she has done well. She met with me. We meet weekly at least. We've established treatment plans and tasks for each goal that she has been working on through our program. She's attended all the groups that she has been asked to attend. She's been attentive to court dates and things like that. So far, she has done everything that we have asked her to do for treatment.
And I know this is a tough question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have a prognosis on her?
I won't give you like a firm answer because it's substance abuse, right? We never know. But what I can say is that when she did enter, she was resistant, not super excited to be here, but she has opened up to the idea that there may actually be issues that she has that she needs to address in order to protect her sobriety moving forward.
And going forward with the time that she is at Miracles, what's the plan for her?
I am going to recommend that she attends level 1 outpatient treatment with the potential for level 2 if she seems to struggle. I'm also recommending that when she leaves here, she immediately gets involved with sober living. So continuing with her mental health, getting a mental health evaluation and following through with those recommendations, following through with outpatient recommendations, and as well as sober living. I think that will be the best scenario for her when she exits our program.
And what is sober living?
We haven't decided exactly where she's going to go, but it's going to be either a sober living facility or like an Oxford house, something like that. We haven't really narrowed down exactly, what she would prefer.
You mentioned that there would be a mental health evaluation. Has she done anything with that to get an evaluation yet?
She has not. She has been very verbal about wanting to get one while she's here. However, with our staffing issues, we are not able to facilitate getting them in some cases to come here to get that mental health evaluation. But her and I have been in communication about making sure that we have that settled and scheduled for as soon as she gets out of here, so she can go and get that done and follow through with what's recommended.
Now, you stated that it could be level 1 or level 2 outpatient. Could you tell us the difference in those two?
I'm going to start recommending with level 1, which is 2 groups a week and a meeting with her counselor. However, if she has trouble, she's going to be encouraged to verbalize that. And then if we need to bump her up to more intensive, which is going to be 3 groups a week and a counselor, that's an option that she has.
And how long are those usually in length?
Usually it's a 12-week session, so 3 months, depending on her ability and attendance.
No other questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Norris?
I just wanted to confirm, I wasn't sure if I quite got the date. When did she come into the program there at Miracles?
Let me confirm. I'm almost positive it's March 13th. Yeah, she checked in on March 13th.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
I guess, Judge, one more question based upon that. You stated that she came in on the 13th. Did that include the 5 days or not?
It does not. That does not count towards the 28-day program. The 5 days of detox prior was on her own.
Which would have been, my math is right, March 8th.
Correct.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you.
You said she'd been attentive to court dates. How many court dates has she had? Because I think this is the first one she's had scheduled with me. since March 13th.
She has another court date, something with Sedgwick County, and she had an original date. I believe it was was it Tuesday? And then she showed up, and then they needed a letter, and then so they went Wednesday, and then she showed up again, and they continued it to this Wednesday.
So the Wednesday of this week, 2
Correct.
days from now? Okay. All right. Anything else anyone wants to ask her based on that?
No,
No.
Your Honor.
Any further evidence, Mr. Patterson?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Both parties rest. Any arguments or recommendations, Ms. Norris?
Your Honor, waive arguments and you want sentencing recommendations at this
Yes,
time?
please. Yes, because I do find that the defendant has violated her probation. And I would point out that she had a revocation in July. She had a modification in October based on continued use between July and October. And she was ordered at that time in October to do treatment. That was October. And now here we are back on our second revocation, where she's clearly tampered with her device, clearly continued to use right up to being in need of detox March 8th. So it is clear to this court that she has violated her probation and is in violation. So recommendations on disposition, starting with you, Ms. Norris.
Your Honor, Stan would be recommending that the court do a 12-month extension of her probation for her to complete these treatment programs that seem to be being recommended from both the counselor here, and I do believe that Ms. Donovan mentioned some treatment as well. I do believe that she needs a jail sanction. And I think I'll leave it to court's discretion on when you want her to serve it. But I think 10 days in jail is appropriate based on the fact that this is her second probation violation, rather significant probation violations, and we didn't even make it a year before she had significant issues. And so we will be requesting that, and the court will need to, I don't think the court needs to address attorney's fees. I think once Mr. Patterson's on, he's kind of on. So I don't think the court needs to address any additional fees at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson?
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, I would ask the court to consider continuing the case for disposition. The court's already made findings that there's been a violation. I can tell the court why, and I think you've probably heard this from me before, even before you took the bench, that always, for one, trying to keep the people's feet to the fire, that while they are doing the right thing, to make sure they continue to do the right thing, make sure they know that there's a little bit more that is at risk. And of course, at a disposition on a warrant that's already been decided, the risk is a sanction or serve the entire sentence. The treatment she's in apparently seems to be one that she has followed through with at this point. As I think Ms. Pinkley said it best when requested about a prognosis. Well, this is addiction treatment, meaning that it's an up and downhill battle for clients, that they have times where they're doing well, but they also then fall back. That's just the nature of the beast on addiction treatment. But she's doing well right now. She should know that doing well can be the difference between her staying out of jail or serving an entire sentence. And Judge, by continuing disposition, that would really help us out to make sure that she stays on the right track, gets into this sober living environment, continues with her mental health evaluation, knows that she's got to do all these things for the court to come back and show the court that she's done these. So I guess my initial request would just be to ask the court to continue disposition to get further reports of completing miracles as well as her updates on where she's at. In lieu of that, Your Honor, I have not said anything to Ms. Barnett would lead her to believe that a sanction is not something that's probably going to happen. I mean, sanctions as a result of probation violations are something that helps them maybe get better on probation. So, Judge, I would tell a court that whatever sanction the court would deem appropriate, I know that Ms. Barnett would accept the court's ruling, but we just ask the court to allow her to complete miracles prior to that time. Thank you.
Ms. Donovan, what do you recommend?
Your Honor, I would concur with Mr. Patterson. I feel like Ms. Barnett is on the right path right now. However, she's still in a structured living environment. Having another court hearing to assess her progress might be beneficial for her, might be another incentive or reason to stay on the right track. As I said, we worked with her previously. She's been back to court. She's been to inpatient. She's been an outpatient, and now she's back in court again. So she has continued to struggle. And I just think that anything we could do to help her at this point for accountability might be a good thing. Hopefully she will get into sober living upon release and will continue on that path. But again, I would agree.
Thank you all. Ms. Barnett was found driving on June 21st, 2022 on a public roadway in Butler County, Kansas, over twice the legal limit of 0.08, specifically at 0.172 BAC. She has been on supervised bond, followed by probation ever since June 26, 2022. She was in violation during her bond. She was sentenced September 20th, 2021 for 6 months. Her probation, she was found in violation of her probation yet less than a year later, July 2022. Her probation was revoked but reinstated after she served, I believe it was a few days, maybe in jail, I don't recall, but as a sanction. That was July. By October, she was still using, but rather than coming in on a full-blown revocation, she consented to do treatment for continued use. That didn't happen right away. Somewhere along the way, she tried a treatment, but apparently that didn't work out. And we come back here on this revocation, her second revocation, since she was sentenced. She's been on electronic monitoring a good portion of that time as well. And she either can't or won't quit using. And I suspect, as folks have said, it's got to be an addiction. The way she's consuming and violating. Yeah, she served 48 hours from the July 11th, and then she went back onto probation and violated her SCRAM by October. And it was only removed, the SCRAM was only removed in December because of problems with her leg. Who knows how the results would have been from December to now, but I don't think anyone in earshot of this hearing or participating in it can fail to see the strong addiction this woman has to alcohol. And I noticed throughout this hearing, her probation officer has emphasized how much she needs treatment, how many there have been welfare checks made on her, because she's obviously got at least Miss Donovan, and it hinted at maybe a lot more concern that she's going to do herself in with alcohol consumption. 5 alcohol uses, 27 tampers with alcohol between July and December, 5 months. Miss Donovan said, oh no, I believe it was Miss Moore mentioned that day after day they had issues. She even admitted that when she drank, she would deliberately put the cloth between her ankle and her bracelet, trying to apparently and obviously distort the results. When she even went into this treatment, Ms. Pinkley said she was resistant. She arrived and needed 5 days of detox before she could start the treatment 14 days ago. But she did make it through detox, and she has apparently made it 14 days into treatment, which seems to be a tremendous step since that day in 2021 that she was arrested. Finally, maybe a breakthrough. Finally. And then she's got something going on in Wichita, Sedgwick County that we don't know about, but it's obviously something enough that she's been going back to court for. You know, normally when somebody violates their probation to this condition, it's serve your time. But in this case, it's obviously an addiction, a very deep addiction. And again, if she weren't starting to show some concern and effort, I might still say, serve your time. But because she is now trying, and maybe now for the first time in years, she's got a real chance at getting a grip on this addiction and being able to contribute to society and not be a law violator. And I know 2 weeks, that may be too optimistic to make all these conclusions, but it is a huge step. So for this reason, I am going to follow Ms. Norris's recommendation that we reinstate her probation for 12 months. But this is conditioned upon you, Ms. Barnett, completing successfully every step, every inch, every direction that you receive at Miracle House. Because it is a miracle that I'm not just outright revoking your probation. It is a miracle that you've got a chance at straightening your life out and kicking this horrible addiction that's had such a grip on you that it's controlled your life and potentially killed people with a DUI if you've been in the wrong minute of your addiction and driving. There will be some jail sanctions, but I'm going to also take Mr. Patterson and Ms. Donovan, and I think Ms. Pinkley's advice, and hold off on further orders until you complete Miracles. And that includes not only their inpatient treatment, but their outpatient as well. So I want you to completely graduate from inpatient. And then I want you to completely graduate from outpatient, following whichever one they want you to start with. Now, they like to start with, it sounds like, least restrictive and work their way up to most restrictive. I'm probably just the personality type. I'd say let's start with the most restrictive and work back, but that's their call to make. You really open up to those people at Miracles. You really take their advice, because this is probably the last chance you're going to get before a lot of other things start happening if you don't. Okay? If you want a good life, you want to get your life back and get out of trouble, listen to them. Also, I want you to stay in touch with Miss Donovan. She's still your probation officer for the next year. And I want you to sign any releases or any documents she needs so that she can keep constant tab on you and make sure you're towing the line and doing whatever else you need to do. All previous conditions will remain in place. And if you need Miss Donovan to review those with you, I'm sure she can do that.
Thank you.
Miss Donovan, should I set this for a definite review date or a sanction date, or do you want to keep me posted and let me know when to set that? What do you prefer?
Your Honor, if the court is wanting to wait until she completes all recommended treatment, that might be a ways down the road.
Should we maybe review it at the end of the inpatient?
That would probably be appropriate. We would know a plan for her at that point.
Of course, that's going to be, that's only going to be, you said 28 days?
And Judge, I guess what I would, Judge, if we could review it, not only after inpatient, but a period of time to see if she's following through with the outpatient sober living and mental health evaluation. So maybe 30 days after she completes her inpatient, if the court would consider that.
Well, let me think. Okay, it was a 28-day inpatient, and she's already got 2 weeks down on that. And then it was going to be a 12-week outpatient. Is that right, Ms. Pinkley?
That's correct.
So what do the parties think about setting this out? And that includes you, Ms. Donovan, your recommendations, setting it out for about a 14-week review. That let her finish outpatient and finish inpatient and outpatient. What, give me some feedback on what you think about that, Ms. Norris. And you,
Your Honor, maybe mid-June.
is that what that calculates to? Probably, okay. Mr. Patterson?
Judge, I'm more for 45 to 60 days out, just so it's sooner than later, so that we just keep, so that Ms. Barnett keeps it in mind that we have
Okay.
a hearing coming up.
That is a good point. We do, as you said, keep your feet to the fire. So what are you recommending?
45 to 60 days from now.
Ms. Donovan, are you okay with that? Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor. I think that's appropriate.
Okay, so then Savannah, that puts it on you to find me a hearing date about 45 days out. 45 to 60, no more than 60, no less than 45. There's a job.
Sorry, I can do June 5th.
Okay, that's not too far from Ms. Norris's recommendations either, so. June 5th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Judge.
Does that work for everyone?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Norris or Ms. Donovan, when do you want her to contact you again, or what's the plan?
Your Honor, if she could please contact me prior to her release from inpatient so that I know her whereabouts, if she is going to a sober living home or where she will be, that would probably be best.
Okay, that's an order. Okay. All right, thank you all very much. Ms. Barnett, I hope this all works out real well for you.
Thank you.